What is a fact that doesn't sound true but is? A scientist in Antarctica tried to murder his co-worker because he kept revealing him how his favorite books ended. It was the first arrest for attempted murder ever in Antarctica. On a happier Antarctica note, 2 researchers matched unplanned on Tinder there in 2014 and one took a 45-minute helicopter ride for the first Antarctica Tinder date. Only 11 people have ever been born in Antarctica. First time a random fact I learned about has come in handy. A doctor in Antarctica gave himself an appendectomy because his appendix ruptured, and he was the only doctor there. The original name for Pepsi was Brad's drink. Way better than Pepsi. Brad obviously ducks. Napoleon won more battles than Alexander the Great. Frederick the Great, Julius Caesar and Hannibal combined. Was it 67? Insane. I think that's how many he fought, or roughly that much. In terms of wins it's 56. 57 I think nearly triple that of Alexander 20. Both John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died on 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Adams' last words were believed to be Jefferson lives. He had no way of knowing that Jefferson died in his Virginia home hours earlier. Sex toys have been banned from being sold in Alabama since 1998. To add on to this, in order to get around these laws and similar laws in other states, manufacturers began adding little animals to the toy designs so that they can call them novelty items. Hence the rabbit and the butterfly, etc. Martin Luther King Jr. and Anne Frank were born the same year, and Betty White was born 7 years before them. Okay, I know she's old, but this blows my mind. Charlie Chaplin outlived Elvis Presley. You'd be surprised at how many people think he died in the black and white film era. There were at least 5 The Three Stooges. There were at least 5 Marx Brothers. When the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock, Santa Fe had already been established as the capital of the Kingdom of New Mexico for 10 years. Edit because this hit 1000. When the Pilgrims landed, one of the Native Americans named Tisquantum helped them out a lot. Turns out he'd been to Europe and spoke perfect English. Sorry for the second rabbit hole. A natural predator of moose is the orca. Moose will swim to eat algae and seaweed, and will wander deep enough for orcas to eat them. Saw another post on here about how it's illegal to poach blue whales in Utah. What the duck is up with whales going on land? Alice Cooper babysat Keanu Reeves in Toronto. I hope he picked him up from school on his last day of the school year while serenading him. Despite being the largest animal to have ever lived on Earth as far as we know, the blue whale's throat is only about 4.8 inches in diameter. Note to self: remove swallowed by whale from list of fears. Well, the sperm whale most likely could, as it is a predatory hunter that is known to hunt large squids and sharks. Note to self: add swallowed by sperm whale to list of fears. Sky pirates actually did exist. In World War I, the Imperial German Navy Zeppelin LZ-66 captured the Norwegian ship Royal on the 23rd of April 1917 by dropping bombs in front of it, forcing the crew to abandon ship and board lifeboats. A boarding party from the Zeppelin went down, capturing the crew and ship, forcing the Norwegians to help them sail the ship back to Hamburg, while the Zeppelin shadowed them overhead, where the ship was sold to a German shipping company and kept until it was scrapped in 1924. Sky pirates. The largest single nuclear test bomber released more energy than all the explosive munitions used by all sides during World War II combined. A glory hole is an opening in a glass-blowing furnace that is used to blow glass. It was named after the other kind of glory hole. Ireland is the only country on Earth that has a smaller population than it did in 1800. On the upside, the generations of emigration have produced a healthy spread of Irish pubs around the world. A soldier named Jack Churchill used a medieval claymore, a medieval longbow, and bagpipes in World War II, and was hilariously proficient. This guy's Wikipedia alone is ducking awesome. I loved his retirement excerpt. Churchill retired from the army in 1959. In retirement, his eccentricity continued. He startled train guards and passengers by throwing his briefcase out of the train window each day on the ride home. He later explained that he was tossing his case into his own back garden so he would not have to carry it from the station. The name Imogen only exists cause Shakespeare had terrible handwriting. A pair of identical twins marrying identical twins is called a quaternary marriage. From a genealogical point of view, their children would technically be considered first cousins, but their DNA would be that of siblings. Dolphins sleep with one eye open. It is called half sleep to avoid predators. You can fit all the other planets in our solar system including Pluto. You're still cool with me between the Earth and the Moon. Mikhail Gorbachev appeared in a Pizza Hut commercial. He's still alive by the way. Wounds sustained during the day heal twice as quickly as those sustained at night. Why so? The article below basically points out that genes that control one of the body's healing modules, fibroblasts, are more active during the daytime than the nighttime. It's a fairly new discovery, though, and they are not sure why. Cards Against Humanity bought an island in Maine and named it Hawaii 2. Nintendo was founded in 1889 as a company that had cards game. The Atlantic Ocean entrance to the Panama Canal is more west than the Pacific Ocean entrance. The entirety of continental South America is farther east than Detroit, Michigan. In any group of 24 people there is a higher probability that 2 or more people share a birthday than not. With 23 individuals, there are 253 pairs to consider, which is well over half the number of days in a year 182.5 or 183. As soon as the number of pairs are brought up it makes more sense. Intuitively you look at the problem as comparing one person to the 22 others, not each person to each other one. That the sex of most turtles, alligators, and crocodiles is determined after fertilization. This is called temperature-dependent sex determination. 100,000,001 is divisible by 17. John Tyler was born in 1790 and was President of the United States 20 years before the Civil War. He has a grandson who is still alive today. Harrison Ruffin Tyler was born in 1928 and is the last remaining grandchild of a president born in the 1700s. There used to be 2 grandsons alive, but the other one died in September of last year. A strawberry isn't a berry, but a banana is. Isn't corn grass, so is bamboo, which is the fastest growing terrestrial plant. Oxford, Cambridge, and Harvard didn't teach calculus when they first were founded because calculus as we know it didn't exist until the late 17th century. Fun bonus aside, not sure if this is actually true, but it sounds fun. Euler discovered so many components of modern calculus that many of them were named after the first person to discover it after Euler. There are more tigers living in the state of Texas than in the wild all over the world. Our sun consists of 99.8% of all the matter in the solar system. That means all of the planets, moons, asteroids, life and stuff came to be from the leftover 0.2% of matter remaining after the formation of the Sunday. Too long didn't read. The sun is big. A human liver can be split into 2 halves and transplanted into 2 recipients. Each half will regenerate into a fully functioning liver. In living donation, a donor can donate half their liver and retain the other half. Both pieces will regenerate into full-sized livers. Because of living donation and my amazing aunt, I'm alive today. She gave me 75% of her liver in 2009 when I was 19. I turned 31 in a couple weeks and she's currently retired in Florida at 60. She's awaiting her first grandchild, my cousins, this month as well. Woo, organ donation. It is illegal to hunt whales in Utah, a landlocked state. Damn poachers. No wonder we don't have any whales here. A German war-matched soldier was trapped for 6 years underground link at the end of World War II until 1951. Mosquitoes are the species that kill humans the most, yes, more than other humans. Damn. Now I gotta work harder. Oxford University is almost 700 years older than the US. 300 years older than Machu Picchu, and 200 years older than the Aztecs. In 2096, it will have existed for 1,000 years. In 171 years, it will have existed for 50% of all time since zero, because Oxford is old enough they don't know when it actually started. Its earliest records of teaching date to 1096, but it easily could have started before then. A mantis shrimp is neither a mantis or a shrimp. They can also punch their targets with the force of a .22 caliber round. If you're an American who is 7 feet tall or taller, regardless of your age, education, or any other factor, there is a 30% chance that you have played in the NBA. The majority of sand on white sand beaches is parrotfish poop. Sharks are older than trees. If you ever think of a stegosaurus or any other Jurassic era dinosaur in its natural habitat, there wouldn't be any grass. Flowering plants didn't evolve until the late Cretaceous period. Alligators are closer related to bats than they are to lizards. The most unbelievable fact in this list is that grass is a flowering plant. That's because we landscape too often. Woolly mammoths were still alive during the time the ancient Egyptians were building the Great Pyramids of Giza. Mosquito-borne diseases have killed nearly half of all humans that ever lived. Source link. Yep, I hate the bastards. There was a plan I heard to introduce mosquitoes that were reproductively superior, but had genes that would render children infertile in an attempt to wipe them out. The barnacle has the highest dick-to-body ratio of any animal. That's why he's called Barnacle Boy. Singing and speaking are not processed in the same part of the brain. Music and math are processed in the same part of the brain. This explains why people with a speech stutter typically don't stutter when they sing. The national animal of Scotland is a unicorn. I recall there being a petition to change Scotland's national animal to the Loch Ness Monster, because unicorns aren't real. The color orange was named after the fruit. The most common cause of death for a 4-year-old in America: grapes. Archduke Franz Ferdinand survived his assassination attempt on June 28, 1914 unscathed. There were multiple attempts on that day, and it was only the last one that worked. Wow. I just checked it out on Wikipedia. Turns out that the only reason he was shot is because he wanted to go see the people that ended up injured in a bombing the same day, and the driver had to turn around because no one had told him the new itinerary, causing a small jam, giving Gavrilo the opportunity to shoot the Archduke. Sugar isn't always vegan. Apparently, to get the sugar white a lot of time bone char is used. Picasso died in 1973. A lot of people seem to think he was a Renaissance artist or something. There's color videos of him painting, probably even on YouTube. Nearly 50% of grown adults have serious gum infection or some form of gum disease. CDC Adult Statics link. There are more synapses in the human brain than there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Some people in Minnesota play duck, gray duck instead of duck, goose. If there are 23 people in a room, there is a 50% chance that 2 of them have a birthday on the same date. In a group of 70 people, there is a 99.9% probability. The name Sarah, only the spelling with an H, not the other spelling without an H, is banned in Morocco because its spelling is of Hebrew origins. The spelling Sarah, which does not have an H, is the Arabic spelling and is perfectly fine. Moths cannot fly during an earthquake. Oh, one of my favorite Reddit things I learned. If a moth is flying by you, take out your keys and shake them. They will do a loop. The moth hears the key noises as a bat's echolocation, and they do a loop to avoid being eaten. The first time I read this, I thought it was bullshit, but it works. Opossums are immune to rabies. Astronomer here. The coldest known place in the known universe is on Earth. To explain, the coldest spots out in space are in the middle of dark clouds of gas, called nebulae, which are 3 degrees above absolute zero. However, in labs on Earth, we can get temperatures a few thousandths of a degree from absolute zero. Link always thought that was super fun somehow. Are humans. We lend the universe and the last spoken words will be a, what's the worst that can happen? On a timeline, T-Rex lived closer to humans than to Stegosaurus. The term sweating like a pig actually should mean you're not sweating. Pigs don't sweat and are unable to. They do not have sweat glands. They also get sunburns. Cleopatra's rule was closer to the completion of the first Pizza Hut restaurant than it was to the completion of the Great Pyramid of Giza. The Sphinx is so ducking old that it was discovered buried in the sand and dug up again in around 1400 because Pharaoh Thutmose IV took the personal credit for the discovering and the digging out. It was presumably someone else who did the actual work, but the point still stands. So old in 1400 because it was already buried and lost to history. In a certain North Korean propaganda video, the music they used is the same music as the main theme for Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. All peacocks are male. The can opener was invented 50 years after the can. They invented the can with no practical way of opening it besides smashing it with a hammer. The cigarette lighter was invented before matches. You're more likely to get murdered by a donkey than get in a plane crash. It's not illegal to drive barefoot. A lot of people in America argue about this. I grew up in Hawaii and a lot of people here drive barefoot because we wear flip-flop slippers at all times. Better to take your shoe off so it doesn't slip while driving. When I moved to the mainland, everyone tried convincing me it's illegal. The reason we don't have more mummies to study is cause we ate most of them. The number of heart attacks increased by 24% on the Monday following the transition to daylight saving time due to the loss of sleep.